Welcome back. We're looking at Bitcoin this morning. Authorities are concerned that cryptocurrency is becoming the next Swiss bank account, with some companies using the digital asset as a way to reduce taxes. Joining us right now is the founder and chairman of LDJ Capital, David Drake. David, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me here, Maria. And my family office has been involved in this a long time. And yes, the normal person in the U.S. today can actually start using offshore banking with Bitcoin if they have an account abroad.
So your company has $10 million in cryptocurrency in blockchain investments. How does that process work? Why would I want to look at this as a way to have an offshore account?
Well, if you have a corporation abroad, then you have a different jurisdiction. Corporations have been using that for hundreds of years. Offshore banking, lower liability because maybe you have a personal injury case in the U.S. because you have a company and somebody wants to come after you. It makes it a little bit more difficult if you have it offshore. Maybe labor laws are different. Maybe regional unrest and political unrest in certain countries allows you to take advantage of that. So there's those advantages the corporation's been taking advantage of, and they're super wealthy. Now the layman person can actually be part of it.
Yeah, I think the interesting aspect we're talking about here is really the architecture of money. So right now, every interaction that we're doing is mediated by a third party. So we could actually walk into a bank and they could actually not give us our capital that we're requesting. And we've seen it in, let's see, Cyprus, Greece, Venezuela, Brazil, Argentina, you know, over the past several decades. So it's not necessarily, we're talking about home bias here, but it certainly serves a use and purpose for people in other countries who are worried about, you know, government institutions cracking down on them. So it can be used not only as a tax haven, but also as a store of value. But here's the argument I have for you. Are you worried about the transaction costs as well as the IRS coming in? Because anytime you transact in digital currency, that transaction is taxed.
Correct. And IRS is having a hard time embracing this. And we saw a lawsuit with Coinbase and other platforms out there where IRS said, look, we want to see all the documentation. We want to tax people. So it's taking a little time to enforce this, and they're working on that. But the offshore banking option here is that you have a corporation abroad. We have quite a few. A lot of investors don't want to get exposed to the U.S. because there are foreigners. So they understand the offshore banking, as well as the wealthy having a chance to keep yourself outside of liabilities in maybe the U.S., but all the other countries as well. I mean, look, when you had the missile from North Korea flying over Japan, you know, the first thing a lot of people in the crypto space thought, wow, I need capital preservation. What if that had landed in our country?
Right. So let's build on this. So bank secrecy laws exist in certain jurisdictions. In the crypto world, you don't necessarily have those laws, but you have a structure that allows you to do that. Do you think the next wave is going to be somehow getting regulators involved and beginning to regulate the activity that goes on in the crypto world to avoid money getting moved around nefariously?
I think that they're going to start doing it. And you got to remember, you know, the SEC hasn't delineated how we're going to deal with it here in the U.S. yet. And there's a lot of uncertainty in that space. And I think as soon as that is resolved, I think Wall Street's coming in. I mean, we have huge corporations from Amazon to, you know, even Starbucks mentioning recently that they're coming into the space. And they understand the value that they create loyalty programs with it. Now, the issue becomes a speculation versus a software accounting software. And, you know, we're starting to see Wall Street coming in. I said that 6 months ago. Normal companies with real revenues coming in. You know, we're working with a lending facility for the first time ever who will lend money to corporations in the U.S. who have a real business, but they want to do a loyalty program, maybe cryptocurrency, a blockchain, and that lending facility will lend now $500,000 to $1 million because the banks won't accept it. They're like, whoa, what are you doing? So, you know, the facility is coming in, and it's becoming more mainstream. And we're going to see that in the next 6 months.
But these companies, these major companies, need to be careful that this doesn't bite them in the, well, bite them where it hurts, in the sense that you have Square that is literally advertising the ability to buy fractional bitcoins over its payment system. And they are, and if you listen to the ads, because you hear a lot of them on podcasts that are targeted toward millennials, they're encouraging young people to speculate on Bitcoin. Yeah. They're not saying use Bitcoin is a great future way of transacting business and making payments. It's literally like, you want to get on and you want to get in on what's hot here, use Square. And I think that a lot of these companies run the risk until some of the mania shakes out of this. They're treading on very, very shaky ground.
I mean, the SEC just had 80 subpoenas go last week. They're just saying, protecting us, you citizens, saying, look, we're watching you. We want to make sure that you're not breaking the law. We want you to see the wording is correct, like you said, Dagen. You know, you're making sure that, you know, you're not misleading people. And that's the conflict. When the anarchists and libertarians started this with Occupy Wall Street's revenge with Satoshi in 2009, it was not for speculation. It was to be outside of the system to be able to trade. Now you have the speculators, the day traders, the foreign exchange traders. They're loving it.
Futures. You have financial instruments that are regulated.
It's not just day traders. It's like my friends who are bartenders who are trading Bitcoin.
So there's a conflict, right? The different ecosystems are colliding right now.
Well, I guess that's what makes a market, and here you have another market. David, good to see you. Thanks for your insights this morning.
Thanks.
David Drake on Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies.